right, welcome to the first episode of a new series on this channel that I'm going to be calling Tales from Retail. Now, obviously, there are plenty of other series like that out on YouTube that have a similar frame. Let me give a brief explanation and introduction to the series before we get into this first episode. So, I have worked in several different industries in the past. I've worked in movie theaters. I've worked at two different ones. I've worked at a gym. I have worked with fast food. I worked there on two separate occasions, both for the same company, but during different time frames. So in fast food, I worked as a line employee, supervisor, and manager, as well as an assistant general manager. So I've kind of done it all in fast food. As far as the theater industry goes, same thing. I was a crew member, a crew leader, and then also a manager. And then I am currently in retail, acting as a shift lead is my official title, but it is essentially the same as a assistant manager as far as responsibilities go. It's pretty similar to what I was doing as a shift manager, at least with my last job that I worked. So that's kind of my background and work experience. Now, I figure with this series I can give random updates throughout the months as I'm gaining more experience in retail. I should have done this with my food industry job, but I decided against it. So we'll just be talking about retail for this series. Now, getting on to the point. So I have been in retail now for nearing 2 weeks, and I've already had some pretty interesting experiences. We'll say the first one was whenever 3 random customers came in. And they all looked pretty suspicious. They all had, I say they all, and in their group they had like one purse, one like really big purse. It was 2 guys and a girl. So they all come into the store and they're kind of just walking and milling about. And individually, each of them would leave one at a time while the other 2 stayed. And they'd bring the purse with them. They would exclaim to our cashiers that they forgot something in the car and they'll be right back. So they would leave with this purse and come back in. And they did this. They did the rounds where each of them would leave once and the other 2 would stay. And obviously, they were stealing stuff because the purse was always padded whenever they left, and it was less padded whenever they came back in. And near the very end, they end up just taking a cart full of stuff and just running out of the store. Now, as far as company policy goes, there's nothing we can do about this. The only way that we can call the police is if we physically see them stealing. And you have to actually be able to prove that by watching them put something into a bag or on their person and walk out of the building. And unfortunately, we weren't able to see them put things into the purse because another part of company policy is that we're not allowed to profile and watch people and discriminate. So regardless of who they are, what they look like, and what they're doing, there's not really a whole lot we can do about it. Also, I had one guy get really angry at me. It was my first transaction I'd ever done in my life while working there. And it was what they call a code 21, which is whenever somebody is buying or alcohol, basically. And unfortunately at the time, our cashiers were under the age of 21, so I got called up there. Now, I had no idea how the process worked. Obviously, I knew based on the online learning that you have to check for the ID, make sure that the ID is not expired, make sure that they are of age, and then you have to scan their ID. And I scanned the ID, and it doesn't work because I don't know how the process works. So I asked to scan it again, and I scan it. I think that it works, and I give it back to the guy. He's already huffing and puffing, so I've inconvenienced him by a whole 5 seconds. So we go through his transaction. The cashier's taking care of everything. At the very end, I'm scanning the alcohol, and I need to ask the guy to scan again because it didn't work. Because it turns out you have to scan the alcohol first, but I didn't know that, and nobody had informed me at the time. So this guy is like getting unreasonably angry and snapping at my cashier, saying, "Oh, I've already gotten out twice. I've got to get out again." He's getting like really frustrated and annoyed for no reason. This guy's probably in his like mid to late 50s or 60s maybe. So like older gentleman. I say gentleman. He wasn't very gentle, but we're just really rude throughout the entire process. We also had a lady that came in with returns from another store. And the item that she was bringing in is discontinued in our store. We don't even sell it. And she was yelling at us because we wouldn't give her money back because it didn't come from our store and we don't actually carry the item anyway. We're not required to accept any returns from other stores. But we typically do if it's an item that we can resell in our store. So she got unreasonably angry about that and stormed out, then came back in like 5 minutes later and tried to have a normal conversation with me while I was on the floor restocking stuff, which was just kind of ridiculous. Finally, we'll talk about what I think was a positive experience. A guy came in who actually goes to the gym that I used to work at, but I didn't know that until later on in the interaction. And he was asking my employees about, what was it called, pre-workout. and just trying to understand like how it worked. So I took the time out of my day. I sat with them for about 10 minutes. We basically just went over like what pre-workout is, what does it do for you, and I basically advised him to talk to a doctor and to a personal trainer first before using it, because there could be some health issues, and he thought that it was to help with recovery, but it's mostly used for, as it stands for, pre-workout, to basically hype you up beforehand, especially with the caffeine content. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of the series. If you did, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to see more, subscribe, and do not forget to keep it casual.